Yes, it's the Website 101 podcast, Lunch Bytes. And here we are back after the holidays. Hello, Amanda. How are you?
Hey, Mike, how are you? Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year. Who are you as far as how late in the year you can keep saying Happy New Year? People always, there's always a point where I haven't seen people and I'm like, Happy New Year. And it's, 2 weeks
Yeah.
into January and they go, that was 2 weeks ago. And I said, well, I
Yeah,
haven't
I
seen you. And
definitely I definitely don't go 2 weeks like because the new year started on a Wednesday, I think this will be the last week that I do it. Just because business is starting up again and podcast lives are starting up again, teaching is starting up again.
yeah.
So like this is the end of it this week.
And what about Christmas decorations?
Oh, they're down already.
So yeah, you mentioned before to me offline that you had taken them down
Yeah.
fairly. Was it right after January, maybe? Right?
Yeah, so if viewers will remember, I usually really like Christmas, and for whatever reason this year, I was just kind of like, no thanks. And Andrew and Malcolm went out and got the tree, and then they brought it home, and they put up this like big beautiful Christmas tree in our front window, and then like nobody bothered to decorate it or to put lights on it or anything for about a week and a half.
The Charlie
And I was
Brown
just
tree.
like, I could not have been bothered. And typically, Andrew is very almost militant that on New Year's Day, Christmas decorations come down. And it usually sucks because I'm a little bit hungover. And I was looking forward to it this year, but then everybody continued to just be very lazy. So it did not happen.
Yeah.
And then a couple days later, I think Andrew decided to go into the office just to get, I think, some space from everybody. And Malcolm was on his tablet because, God forbid, a 9-year-old not be on their tablet for the entire time during the Christmas holidays. And I was just like, I'm done. So I put some like old 90s alternative music on Spotify and just by myself and just took everything down with no distractions, no interruptions, no how should this be packed up, no questions, no where does this go, no nothing. I just did it all by myself. And it was probably the happiest I had been inside for about 3 weeks. Bah
Well,
humbug, apparently, is a
hey, at
man's key
least
phrase.
in a way, Christmas was able to bring you some joy if it was
It,
only just removing Christmas from your life.
true. Yeah. So Christmas finally made me happy by
Yeah.
by going away.
Well, we still have our stuff up to this day.
Yeah.
It's more out of laziness than anything else. I don't like
Yeah.
taking that on. But I read this article that said, whatever, I'll summarize it. It was basically like some people leave their stuff up until January 6th is the tradition, which is the Feast of the Epiphany in Christianity for anyone who was raised in the Christian traditions. Maybe it's
It is,
Catholic,
isn't
I
it?
guess.
Isn't it also like the Greek Orthodox Christmas?
Oh, is it? I don't know.
I think also Andrew and I were talking about it last night. He's very much into history and world
Yeah.
culture and things like that. And so yes, the Canadian Google Calendar says Epiphany, and I just looked that up. Apparently, for Canada, that is the celebration of when the wise men came to the manger.
Okay. Nice.
But
Yeah, I didn't
also
even know that.
because it's somebody else, the Greek Orthodox calendar or something like that. They don't do a leap day every 4 years. So apparently their calendars just keep getting further and further apart from ours. So this year, the 6th also happens to be their Christmas,
Oh, wow. That's super
something like
interesting.
that.
Well,
Yeah,
apparently there's also something called Candlemas, like Christmas, Candlemas.
Candlemas. All right.
And it happens on, I think it's February 2nd. And traditionally, since 400 AD, a lot of people left all their Christmas stuff up until that date.
Oh,
So a month after New Year's. And it has to do, there's like a poem that says something like it's bad luck if you take it down earlier. There's goblins are going to come get you and all this stuff. It actually says goblins. Anyway,
yeah.
it's this, I think it has to do with the declaration that Mary, the mother of Jesus, was, immaculate or something. I'm forgetting my Catholicism totally, but it was some
Yeah.
event that happened years ago. And there's still a case for leaving your Christmas stuff up until that date for that reason. I'm not
Yeah,
leaving
but
it
if
up
it's
that long. That's a little
but if it's
crazy.
got
But
if it's got origins from like 400 and whatever, oh, you said AD? Okay,
yeah,
I heard
yeah,
I heard
400
BC.
after. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Then I was
So
like,
it's
well,
still,
but it could also have something to do with like Yule, wasn't it before
yeah,
the Christians took over
right. All the
Christmas? It was
pagan
like some
stuff.
Yule celebration, pagans,
Yeah,
yeah.
yep, that's right. Yeah, I mean, it all, I guess it all is. That's why it's that time of year and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also, we recently moved to this new neighborhood and I'm kind of looking at what the neighbors do. And a lot of them still
Yeah.
have their stuff up too. So I was like, I didn't want to be the one house that has it still up way
I
after
think
everyone else.
I think outside lights are different than inside decorations.
Oh, is that so? Okay. I'm learning a lot
And I
here.
mean, when I want to take everything down, I just want everything down and gone, so I don't have to deal with it. But I, if I were walking down the street, even at night, if somebody wants to keep turning on their Christmas lights well into January, that's no problem. But if I saw like a lit Christmas tree in their window, like at the end of January, I'd be like, that's weird.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a certain point when you're in the house, I just feel like since the rest of society has sort of moved past Christmas, it becomes a little depressing if you still have it. Like I find it when I see it, I'm just like, it's not keeping the Christmas cheer. It's just like, let's get on with the year already, sort of thing, you know?
Yeah. Like at that point, it is like a very big reminder of like yet another thing on the to-do list that I haven't gotten around to. And
Yeah.
yeah, it does start to bring me down. And I like the clean house and I like the putting the things away and having it be tidy and it's all because we rearrange the furniture a little bit. So it's
Yeah,
always nice
absolutely.
to like get back to like how I'm used to having it. And it's like when we first move it and it's like, oh, it's so pretty. Maybe we'll keep it like this. And then when I took everything down and I was like, nope, put the couch back.
Yeah. We have a neighbor in our neighborhood who's got at Halloween, he had one of those giant skeletons on the lawn that's like 20 feet tall.
Yeah.
And it's still there, but now it's wearing a Santa hat. So that's one way to just be really lazy. Same
Yeah.
decorations. Doesn't matter what the
Yeah.
holiday is.
I think that as a gift, you should go out and get him giant Easter bunny ears that will fit on the skeleton.
There you go.
It'd be
Nice.
like a
I like it.
community
Yeah.
contributing.
Yeah. Or maybe like a Valentine's Day, like, I don't know, cherub or something to put in his
Cupid
arms.
arrow or something like
Yeah, something
that.
like that. Yeah. Well,
I
do you
forgot
have any?
Valentine's Day came first.
Well, it's not a, yeah, no one really cares about Valentine's Day, do they?
Yeah.
Any tech related stuff going on in your life right now?
Um, yes. Over the holidays, the last 2 weeks, I didn't necessarily want to be up here in my office all by myself when other people were in the house, even just doing their own random things. And even if we didn't interact, it felt very isolating. So
Yeah.
I took my laptop that I was very excited to purchase. I don't know, I'm sure I mentioned it if everyone remembers. I got a laptop, but that would like it's called a 3-in-1, so it can actually like turn all the way backwards to like go in tent mode is what they call it, so that the keyboard is out of the way, or you could like use it as a tablet or whatever.
Tablet, yeah.
So I took it downstairs to do whenever I was going to do like work or email or fill out forms for the new year, just at the dining room table. And it was great and it was fine. And I finally took everything back upstairs and it's not working anymore.
Oh no.
The display is supposed to automatically rotate either to upside down if it's in tent
Sure.
mode, or if I'm holding it like a tablet in portrait mode, it's just supposed to go sideways. It's not doing that. It's not, it's plugged into the dock. The mouse works, the microphone works, the camera works. The monitors aren't even detected. I don't know what's going on. There was one more thing and I think that the resolution on the laptop has stayed small. Usually when I plug it in, the resolution changes so that things are a bit bigger. But
Yeah.
then I've got two big monitors, so that's actually great. That's what I want it to be. But so right now it's like I've got the keyboard, which is connecting, and that's great. And I touched something on the keyboard, and nothing. I
Is
don't
it
know. Are you
is
still
it
there?
fixed? I'm still here. Yeah. Can
Good.
you hear
I
me?
don't know. I'm just not
You
touching
can't see
anything.
anything?
Yeah. So I've got the camera, and I've got the two monitors, and then I've got my laptop is like way down here. So it feels like I'm talking to. I can hear you, but I can't see you. And it's very disjointed and I don't like it. And I don't know how to fix it.
Can you not even see me on your screen? Am I gone from your screen?
Well, no, if I have to like look down
Right, right.
to,
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. My
yeah,
picture's still there, but it's just far from the camera.
yeah, because my laptop is like on the desk. I can
Yeah.
see you now.
Well, I don't know what's wrong either, but for what it's worth, they all sound like similar related issues. They're all about visual.
Yes,
So something is disabled or something. I'm sure it's just a matter of
yes.
switching something back on or whatever. Yeah.
My fingers are crossed. I don't, I find hardware and networks just so frustrating. Like, just work.
Yeah.
And then
Yep.
if it was working, like, why are you suddenly not working? Like that, it's very frustrating. It's very annoying. I don't like it.
Yeah.
But before we go any further, Seneca teaching started yesterday. And of course, I had two classes yesterday. I've got two classes tomorrow. So I've like bullied all of my students into like and subscribe,
Oh, nice.
go sign up, get notifications. And
Good.
we have two viewers right now.
Oh, good. That's awesome.
Hooray. So if you are students from Seneca, hello, thank you. Thank you
Yes,
for
thank
joining.
you. And they're thinking, why did I tune into this? I'm tuning in to hear about Christmas trees and
I know.
laptops.
Yeah, basically. Sorry, everyone.
No, no, it's fine.
That's all
It's
right.
funny actually. I was at a party, like a New Year's type thing recently, and I saw a person that I knew from years ago through our kids, but I haven't seen him in a long time. And the first thing he asked was, "Hey, are you still doing that podcasting thing?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I am." And he's like, "I think I heard about that on LinkedIn or something." And I was like, "Oh yeah, maybe, because that's probably the only social media I use is LinkedIn, and it's to post, hey, we have a new
Yeah,
episode once in a while."
yeah,
Anyway, he knew about it, which is pretty cool. It's always nice to hear people that are not in the industry and whatever asking about and it was nice to say we're on season 8. 8
yes,
years. Pretty good.
yeah. Well, I mean, like, how much of that did Sean do before we joined?
He did two. I
Many.
joined in season 3 maybe. So yeah, that's
Okay,
right. He's the OG, no doubt about
a
that.
good few on his own.
Yeah. And Sean's not here with us today, by the way, obviously, but he'll be back soon. And also, so will the podcast. Like, we didn't release anything over the holidays like everyone else. We just kind of took a break, but we're going to get back
Yeah,
into it probably this week.
we are. Yes, I need to send out some emails and make some stuff happen.
Um,
So do you have any tech stuff to talk about this week?
yeah, a little bit. In our tradition of being grumpy web developers and complaining about things, we were
Yeah,
one of the other things we did at the holidays is we went to a nice restaurant here in Toronto, and it was great. And as you know, restaurants are dimly lit and all that kind of stuff for the ambiance.
yes,
And we got the menu, and even when I wear reading glasses, even when I put my reading glasses on, which thank God I took them with me in my
yeah,
jacket, I could barely read that text. The font in the menu was so tiny and the
yeah.
dimly lit. And I was like, what? And I gave it to my wife, and she's like, I can barely. And we're kind of struggling to. At one point, we actually asked the server, can you just recommend one of these apps for us? Because we were
Yeah.
just, partly it was because a lot of them had like all kinds of weird terms of food that I've never even heard of. All they list every single ingredient in the thing or whatever. But that just reminded me about accessibility, which is something we often have to deal with. And I know I've asked you folks in our private Slack channel before about this. I don't know if we've talked about it recently on the show. And it's those accessibility plugins that you see now sometimes where it's like a little icon of there's like a human being shape that's like the icon for accessibility. And the idea is you click it and it opens like a sidebar or something, which lets you control the contrast or the text size or whatever. And you ever see that stuff, but they layer it on top of a website. It's very popular
Yeah.
in WordPress sites, of course. It's just a little plugin, but I've seen it in non-WordPress sites, and it kind of bothers me because I feel like, they're building a website with not best practices, obviously,
Yeah.
and then they just throw that thing on top of it. And I, honest to God, have seen cases where I've run like Google Lighthouse or whatever on the accessibility thing, and it's not accessible. Like the contrast of the text
Yeah,
doesn't meet accessibility guidelines. So anyway, I
that
wonder if you
doesn't
have any
doesn't
thoughts on
surprise
those
me.
things, if you know what I'm talking about.
My thoughts are very curmudgeonly, like you. For one, just have a good looking and yet accessible design. It's
Yeah.
not that hard. You can
Yeah.
absolutely do that. For two, my guess is that, like you said, not only the accessibility aspect of the plugin itself, but my guess is that like I don't like it when you go to a website and it has like the bloop bubble at the bottom that's like um, hey, I'm here to chat. Let me know if you have any questions. And
Yeah.
it's like, it's
Yeah.
just, to me, it's like overlapping. It's getting in the way. I don't want to see it. And so a lot of times I feel like seeing that thing in the top corner, for one, how many people realize what it's actually supposed to be used for? And for
Yeah.
two, like, what is it covering? Like, what is it breaking in the general UI
Yep.
of what it is I'm supposed to be looking at?
Yes. And that's exactly what it is. It does float on top of everything else. And it's sort of like it's supposed to draw your eye. But if you don't want to use it, it becomes a bit of a nuisance. And I don't think, like, we one time before you were on the show, we interviewed Matsuko Friedland, who used to be the accessibility expert at Pixel and Tonic, who
Oh,
make
cool.
Craft CMS. And I asked her about this back then. This was years ago though, and she kind of said what I said, that they're like a band-aid solution, not a truly accessible website. And that's kind of where I'm at. But I'd like to get a modern take on it from someone. Maybe we should have someone on the show who's an
Yeah.
accessibility expert and just say what's the deal here. Obviously, making your website accessible from the start is the right solution, but I don't know if this is better. What's happening?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Laptop acting up again?
Laptop is doing weird things. Yeah, I don't know. And the thing is, I would have thought that like the baby boomer generation was so big and there were so many of them, and as they were getting older and they weren't used to technology, they didn't grow up with this type of technology. So I would have thought that being accessible would have been very important to handle that generation.
Yeah.
The fact is now the baby boomers are at the age that there are less of them. I haven't seen any statistics. I don't know if Gen X has surpassed them just with population numbers yet. But like Gen X, who has had this technology for almost our entire lives, we're getting up there too. And we've
Yep.
got, the progressive bifocals, and we've got like how you would think that we would be able to do better and just be able to like make not even websites, but like you said, at restaurants and make life in general
Yeah.
more seamless. I found that I have to. We went to some fast food restaurant that I hadn't been to before, and I always get a bit anxious. I don't want to be standing at the register and looking at the menu then, because everybody behind me is like tapping their foot and waiting for their turn. So what I've started doing is taking a picture of that giant menu that goes across the top of the wall so that I can like zoom in and read it at my leisure, because when
Yeah.
I'm like, you know, 20 meters back, I can't read it.
That is brilliant. And also sometimes it's a menu that switches. So you're like, okay, these are
Tim
oh no,
Hortons.
wait, it's gone now. I got to wait for it to come back around. And
Tim
that's
Hortons does that. I hate it.
yeah. And the other thing is we talked about on a recent episode about shortcuts of the podcast, where we talked about ways to improve your usability stuff on your computer or whatever. One of them was making the font size larger and smaller with Control plus, Control minus.
Yeah.
And that works everywhere for everyone. And it's like that sort of teach a man to fish kind of thing, rather than just,
Yeah.
I feel like people should be taught that rather than taught to expect an accessibility button. Because then if they encounter a site that doesn't have it, they feel like, oh, I can't use this. But the truth is,
Yeah.
all of those shortcuts would still work if they just knew they existed, you know?
Exactly. Well, exactly. But it's also the same as when we're making websites. How I think all three of us are pretty big proponents of if the if the language that you're using can do it, if the content management system that you're using has this functionality already, why would you throw on another plugin that
Yeah.
does the same thing? Like just write some vanilla JavaScript. It's like
Yeah.
8 lines of code, and it'll do the thing that this extra plugin is supposed to handle for you. You don't need to worry about updates. You don't need to worry about maintenance. You don't need to worry about
Yeah.
any of it. So I think a lot of times everybody in every aspect, not just websites, needs to just think about how to make everything nicer, easier, better for everyone.
Yeah, it should be in the same way that web developers make sites that are responsive. It's just understood. It's got to work on a phone as well as on a desktop. I feel like people need to start thinking about that with accessibility and just like make sure that they can do all the things they can do. But a lot of it is, like I said, I think it's education. Like people just don't realize they're able to control that stuff with their own browser. You don't need a plugin,
Yeah, no, it's true.
I don't know. Another thing I wanted to point out, we talked about, as you guys know, I'm a big AI fan. And I said in our group the other day that these days, a lot of the coding I do, if I'm starting to build something, I just say it. I have like a app that lets me dictate to my computer a command or whatever. And I would tell AI to build this and that, whatever. And the other day, I have a website that already exists. And I was like, okay, I want to start promoting these projects on the donate page to show, this why donations help. So I literally put my cursor where I want it. I said to AI, in cursor, the app in my case, I said, add something like add an element here that promotes they're called impact stories, and shows that donations help make those, have 3 different cards, the most recent 3, whatever, something like that. And I just hit enter and it put the whole thing in there. The 3 cards linked properly. It even wrote some copy that says, see how your donations help this and that. And I was like, that's pretty good copy. I haven't approved it with the client yet, but I was just like, man, it got me so far. I had to tweak it a little bit, but it was able to use all the colors from my branding because I was able to tell it, like, look at the other templates in this site, use the same styles. It was wild. It was really cool. So
Yeah,
I just wanted to
that's
say that was
amazing.
fun. Yeah.
I should experiment with GitHub Copilot a little bit more. I am 100% positive that there's a lot of features in there that I haven't even scratched the surface of yet.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that's the case with me too. Like everybody is at a certain point in the journey or whatever.
You're a lot closer to being the $6,000 man than I am. $6 million.
Yeah, maybe.
6,000. Could you imagine?
I'm worth 6 million, I think, at least.
You're Steve Austin.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. It's cool. It's still at that point where it's really helping me with my job and not making me afraid it's going to take my job.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the fact is, you still needed to get the rest of the project set up with the stylings and everything like that, and you still needed to know, have the vision of what you were asking for, and still needed to come up with the prompt that would generate, get your vision into the code, and then, like you said, you still had to go back and tweak it a little bit.
Yes,
So
that's right.
I keep saying to everyone, it's like AI, use it as a tool, but you still need to know what to do with the output.
Yeah, I heard someone say that the other day in a podcast, is that it's in code especially, it's awesome if you're a pretty good coder. If you're like a total noob coder, it's maybe not something you should rely on too much because you won't be able to spot the errors here and there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think we're a long way off from our clients wanting to go in here and do that themselves. Like they still don't have the time or interest of going to go and build
Absolutely,
stuff.
they don't. So decades ago, before content management systems did all of the heavy lifting of every single website that was out there, and it was just static HTML pages. And there were people, typically small business owners, that were like, "Oh, I could just do this myself." And it's like, "Yeah, you could. Enjoy."
Yeah. Yeah.
And then content management systems came out, and they seemed bigger and more complicated and confusing because you had to install it, and there was a database involved all of a sudden now. Oh no. And then it was just the fact that it was like, you know what, I will take care of the code, and hey client, you just put in the content. I've given you this nice WYSIWYG editor. There's nothing to mess up. It's not even for the page layout, it's just for the content. And again, I just had so many clients that were just like, you do it.
Yeah, I do too, to this day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
yes,
that's right.
there are going to be some people who want to do it themselves, who think they can do it themselves, who can do it themselves, and then there are going to be some who try it and it fails and they get frustrated, and then there's going to be some who just recognize that they've got enough on their plate.
Yep.
They're running a business. Let somebody else do the things that they don't want to do.
Yeah, it's funny. Just today, I got a notice for one of my clients that their domain name needs to be renewed, and I don't have the login for that particular registrar. So I sent it to them. I said, "Hey, just a heads up. This is, and they said, "Yeah, it's on auto renew, but I did have to like make some changes or whatever." And I wrote back and I said, "That's cool, thanks. And if you want me to take care of this in the future, I'm happy to do that." I just said that because I was like, I know a lot of people are just like, "Oh, it's website stuff again. We're paying that guy. Let's get him to do it." You know what I mean? So I was like, just like, give me the password. I'll take care of it for you if you want. But that particular example was pretty simple for them to do, I guess. So I'm not sure where that'll go, but yeah, different skill set.
No, for sure. For sure.
All right. Should we wrap it up there? It's almost 12.
Yes, I gotta figure out what's wrong with my computer.
Did you try asking ChatGPT?
Not yet, because it was like 11:15 when I came up and plugged everything in and turned everything on.
Oh,
and
yeah,
it
that's
was
right.
like,
Right. It was right before this.
yeah, so I had to get here for
Yep.
y'all.
Appreciate it. No, you'll get it. It's some switch that has to be turned on. I guarantee it.
Probably. Fingers crossed, that's all it is.
So we have moved these lunch bites
Lunch bites.
from Wednesdays to Tuesdays. If you notice, today is Tuesday. So now it's the first and third Tuesday of every month.
Of the month. And that
11:30
is
a.m.
absolutely because of my Seneca teaching schedule. And we hadn't been promoting it during December because I hadn't bothered looking at my teaching schedule for the winter semester until like last week.
Yeah. Oh, you're on holiday. What can you do?
Sorry everyone. Amanda dropped the ball on that.
Most people watch these after we've recorded them anyway, so hopefully
think
they'll
so, yes.
see this one and they'll learn that. But yeah. And we will have a new episode out hopefully in the coming couple of weeks, maybe, of the podcast.
I think I like your idea of maybe doing of putting out an older popular episode maybe for next week, and then I'm sure we
Might
can
do
get
that.
one for the end of January.
Yep, that's right. So subscribe to that as well. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.